This is the Aromatic Wisdom Podcast, episode number 1. Today's topic is getting acquainted and what this podcast is all about.
You're listening to the Aromatic Wisdom Podcast with your host, Liz Fulcher. If you're interested in learning about essential oils, hearing interviews with industry experts, and discovering ways to grow your own aromatherapy business, this is the podcast for you. For more information and show notes, visit the website at aromaticwisdominstitute.com. Now, sit back, relax, take a deep breath, and enjoy as Liz shares a dose of aromatic wisdom.
Hey there, and welcome to this first episode of the Aromatic Wisdom Podcast. My name is Liz Fulcher, and I'm your host. I have a school for aromatherapy and essential oil education in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, right in the center of the state. And the school is Aromatic Wisdom Institute, and hence the name of the podcast, Aromatic Wisdom Podcast. And I'm really excited to be here today, sharing all things aromatherapy with you by way of this really awesome medium called podcasting. Actually, the idea to do a podcast wasn't much of a stretch for me because I am already a podcast junkie. I listen to podcasts every day, and I'm real busy. I have a very busy schedule, as I guess most of us do. And I can consume a lot of information while doing other things when I listen to podcasts. So I may download an episode, pop it into the iPad, not my iPad, my iPhone, and go for a walk and listen to everything from current events to meditations. It's just a great way to continue to consume information while I'm doing other things. Actually, I've been using essential oils since 1991. I have been teaching aromatherapy in schools since 1997. So I've got 23 years of knowledge and experience in this old brain of mine. I love to talk and I love to share. So it's kind of like podcasting was made for me. I did announce last spring that I would be doing something sort of big and exciting, and then realized that the technology was a little daunting. So it's taken me since the spring until now, the end of October, to actually get this thing launched. Which may sound funny to some people who think podcasting is easy, but, I'd like to see them make an essential oil blend. Not everyone has the same specialty. So for those of you that have waited for the big reveal, thank you so much for your patience and for not losing faith in me. I promise I'll do my best to make it worth the wait. All right, moving right along. I'd like now to share with you what you can expect when you listen to the Aromatic Wisdom Podcast in future episodes. Today will be a little different just because it is the first time together, and I'd like to share a couple of things with you. Specifically, I'd like to share 3 things with you now. Number 1, I'd like to share the purpose of the podcast and how you will benefit by listening. Number 2, I'd like to share podcast format, and so you have an idea of what to expect in the future. And number 3, I'd like to share a little about my background so you know who is this Liz Fulcher person. Why should she have a podcast? So let's get started. Number 1, the purpose of the podcast. So my goal in having the Aromatic Wisdom Podcast is pretty straightforward. My goal is to educate, to inform, to inspire. I would like you, the listener, to learn about how to safely and effectively use essential oils and hydrosols. And since I love business and marketing, I'm sure I'm going to sneak some of that in as well. I will also share about carriers, methods of application, so that basically you're learning all aspects of aromatherapy. I'd like that at the end of every podcast, you will have learned something new that you can use in your life or in your aromatherapy practice. Number 2, the format of the podcast. Now, the format could change as the podcast evolves. This is a new experience for me. So I'm not quite sure how things are going to evolve, but for now, The plan is that each podcast episode will either be a Learn with Liz episode, in which it's just you and I hanging out together and I talk about a featured topic in depth, or I'll have a featured guest. How cool is that? I'd like to bring someone into who will help enrich your knowledge in some way. I certainly don't know it all. I mean, I know a lot. I have been practicing aromatherapy using essential oils for a long time. But boy, I sure don't know everything. And having someone come in and share their knowledge will be really awesome for both of us, you and I. So I'd like to invite industry colleagues, other educators, my students. I have students who are doing some very awesome things out in the world. People who own businesses, both online and brick and mortar, and are selling essential oils that way. People who use essential oils in therapeutic practices like massage. Formulators. I'd love to have some distillers in as guests. And marketing experts, and really anyone that I can get to sit down with me and share something of interest that will benefit you in some way. So, remember that this podcast is for you. So please feel free to share. If there's anything specific you would like me to talk about, please just mention it in the comments section at the bottom of the show notes. I'd like to mention also that I recently, it was probably about 2 months ago, put out a survey for my students and my newsletter subscribers to fill out to help me understand what sort of content you would like to consume with regard to aromatherapy. The survey is still active if you'd like to take it, and I will put the link to that in the show notes as well. It's a SurveyMonkey link, so when you see that, just if you'd like to go into that, and it's only 5 questions, and it's been very helpful for me to understand what information you would like to have. And finally, number 3, a bit of information about me. The way that I came about learning about essential oils and aromatherapy is really unusual. I used to live in Rome, Italy. I spent 12 years there working for the United Nations. And while I was in Rome, I had my children. I had 2 sons, Davide, who's now 28, and Gianluca, who's now 23. When Gianluca was born in 1991, I was in a private clinic. And the nurses in the clinic, just after he was born, invited me to give him a massage. They said, come along, Signora. We'll show you how to diaper him and bathe him and all that and give him a massage. I was flabbergasted. I did not know then that infants could be massaged. And so I tagged along. I said, sure, I got to see this. So they instructed me how to gently massage his little bitty body. And they used an oil that was incredible. It smelled so good, and it was in this unmarked amber bottle. And I asked them, what is in the bottle? What smells so good? Oh, it's just some oils that are good for his skin and good for, the baby's nerves so that they stay calm and they sleep. Well, I learned eventually, when I sort of prodded them for information, it was an infusion of calendula flowers with Roman chamomile essential oil. It was probably about a 0.5% blend. It was very light, but very effective. It kept the babies very calm. It kept the mothers calm. It really was a lovely, lovely blend. I'd never smelled anything so beautiful. And so I actually wrote a blog post about this experience called My Unusual Introduction to Essential Oils. And I'll put the link to that in the show notes. So that experience opened a door that forever changed my life. I began to go around to shops in Rome, buying essential oils and teaching myself how to use them. I bought books and read articles. There was not that much to be found back then. So then in 1996, I returned to the United States and discovered that this is a modality called aromatherapy. And I began formal studies everywhere I could, just sucking up information about how to use essential oils and what are they and so forth. It was when I studied the chemistry of essential oils that there was a shift for me. I really began to see that there was serious plant medicine at work with these powerful extracts. And my understanding and my respect for their ability to heal and harm, because essential oils can be dangerous, totally deepened. And I really finally saw that there was science at work here. It wasn't just lavender smells good and it's relaxing. I understood that lavender works because of the chemistry at work on our central nervous systems. So then in 1997, I began teaching aromatherapy. I was on the faculty at the Mount Nittany Institute of Natural Health in State College as director of aromatherapy studies. Then in 2010, opened my own school, the Aromatic Wisdom Institute, School of Creative Aromatherapy. Currently, all my classes are live, as I said earlier, but they'll soon be online as soon as I can master that technology, one miracle at a time. So there you have it. That's my story and my passion in a nutshell. And finally, I'd like to end today's episode with a segment that I'm calling Smell My Life. It's not really a very sexy segment title, is it? But it is kind of funny. But in the Smell My Life segment, I'm going to share some aspect of my real life aromatic moment from the week where I've used essential oils in a real way, spontaneously or planned. And actually, I suppose aromatic moments would be a cool segment title. I don't know. What do you think? Should I change it? Smell My Life or aromatic moments? So my Smell My Life this week is about cat litter. So I have a cat, Hannah, who's about 7, and recently acquired 2 kittens, Karate, so named by my grandson, and Lucy, whom I named. So now my litter box, I have 3 litter boxes. They're visited by 3 kitties several times a day. I love my kitties, but I retch when I clean the box. So here's how I make that experience more tolerable and actually a little healthier with essential oils. I went to a local hardware store and bought some cheap masks. They're to be worn over the nose to protect yourself when you do work with dust particles and drywall and so forth. I think I paid about $3 for 3 of them. You could even use disposable surgical masks if you can find them, or heck, you could even take a bandana and put it over your nose. The idea is to put 1 drop of essential oil in the center of the mask and put it over your nose before you clean the litter box. I put 1 drop of bay laurel essential oil. The Latin name is Laurus nobilis because it's one of my favorites and it's really good for the respiratory system. So I just put this little mask over my face, put the elastic band over the back of my head, clean the kitty box. So like that, I'm not breathing in the dust. I don't smell their business, and I'm keeping my respiratory system immunity boosted at the same time. You could do this with any oil that has a pleasant aroma. Be real careful with anything like oregano or thyme that would probably be very uncomfortable when you breathed it in. It would probably burn the inside of your nose. So that is I think I like aromatic moments. I'm not sure, but that's Smell My Life for today. So that is it for today's first episode. I will be back again, hopefully in a week. That is the idea. Thank you again for listening to this very first session of the Aromatic Wisdom Podcast. And don't forget to check the blog for more information. To do that, you would go to aromaticwisdominstitute.com/blog. Have a beautifully aromatic week. Bye-bye. And I look forward to chatting with you again in next week's episode. Take care.